Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Mass. Here, I'm actually not sure what we've got on camera yet. We've got a Ponder on the left-hand side, and we see Daze and Bolt along with Wasteland on the right-hand side, so we'll see what these decks are as this unfolds. It looks like Blue-Red Delver. Okay, so Lucas is on Blue-White Delver, perhaps. Little mystery will unfold as we go. This is the ELD Legacy Open. I believe we had a Daze here countering Young Pyro. Daze back. Oh, and brutal. So double Daze, keeping that Young Pyromancer on board. Doesn't get any elemental tokens as of yet. But the commitment of those resources does indicate that Lucas would not have a piece of removal for the Pyromancer. Perhaps he'll draw one. Stoneforge Mystic. And this really highlights the difference between these two strategies right now. A couple of basic lands here for Lucas. Lightning Bolt clears this Stoneforge Mystic, making a 1/1. Blue-Red Delver looking lower to the ground right now. Once it gets another land, Force of Negation will be hard castable. Currently only for free on Lucas's turn. Lucas fetching out basic lands. Robert could have potentially kept that Batter Skull from being relevant by going after Lucas's mana base if he didn't have access to these basics. Many of the best performing Delver strategies at this point running basics again. For a while they were all non-basics, and now True Name Nemesis. Putting a halt to this situation. Lucas is down to 12, but the tides are turning here with the True Name. Now, it won't win a race, but it will keep at least the Young Pyromancer at bay. Robert going to need to play an awful lot of spells to swarm around this 3/1. And Council's Judgment, unfortunately, needs to be played on Lucas's turn, and that is going to allow Robert to actually hard cast this Force of Negation, getting another body. Daze. And now things are really looking up. Lucas actually not swinging there, interestingly enough. Giving a lot of respect to Blue-Red Delver. He would win the race as it is on board. And now a Snapcaster Mage getting double duty out of this Ponder. Staying pat. And a Delver of Secrets, and now he opts to turn sideways. Robert's hand really not stacking up well right now. A Brainstorm would change everything. Chain Lightning takes out that Delver. 1 damage offered up as a trade for the Snapcaster. With as cautiously as Lucas is playing, I wouldn't be shocked if he blocks, and he does. Paying full respect to Lightning Bolts and Chain Lightnings potentially coming together to finish this thing off. He just needs to hold down the fort for 4 more turns. This Dreadhorde Arcanist is going to be able to convert itself into 3 damage, even on a suicide mission. Swords to Plowshares, saving him a ton of life. At least 4 life there. Delver of Secrets coming down for Robert. Stoneforge Mystic's going to be able to tutor up another piece of equipment. Umezawa's Jite, this can actually land this turn, and that'll likely wrap everything up. Thinking about whether or not he wants to cast this now or take the more conservative route and put it in with Stoneforge Mystic, making it uncounterable. Delver of Secrets, revealing Chain Lightning. And that Dreadhorde Arcanist would have been lethal here had Lucas not had the swords. Even running into a True Name Nemesis would have allowed him to flash back a bolt, plus the Chain Lightning in hand. A very, very close game here. Once this Jit gets 2 counters on it, however, that'll be an extra 4 life. And now the actual cost of getting that Jit in is a little bit higher, as it's going to actually tap this Stoneforge Mystic as well, allowing for 1 additional point of damage from this Elemental token. That was potentially a much bigger decision than it looked like on the surface. While certainly gets around counter spells, it does Robert is dead in 2 turns here. Question is, can Lucas survive those 2 turns? He's facing down 4 damage. Plus the 3 is 7. He's going to be able to go up to 10. Which means another burn spell would actually be lethal even with these counters. Now he can kill the Delver of Secrets. But again, another burn spell just gets him. A Wasteland for turn off the top is going to be of no help. Swings. It's up to 10. Down to 6. Got a Chain Lightning. And passing the turn. And that is going to do it, making Lucas strike that final blow. A very close game. Not often that it is down to the wire like that. That Stoneforge Mystic tapping was actually a pretty big decision. If it was untapped, he would have been able to stay at 4 life, so a Lightning Bolt wouldn't have gotten him. On the other side, a counter spell would have essentially been game over there, as that Jit was completely necessary to Lucas finding a way to victory. And jumping back in post sideboard, Lucas leading out with a Ponder. Robert just Flooded Strand go. He does have a Brainstorm in hand, so he end of turn Brainstorm actually going to be coming here. With that Scalding Tarn, he's going to be able to shuffle away 1 of these cards. So not the textbook perfect brainstorm, so to speak. Depending on how long this game goes, that may end up being the right or wrong play. A lot of players have very strong opinions about that, and actually not jamming his young Pyromancer or preordaining. I'm a little surprised by that. We've got a Lavinia, and she is essentially going to shut off Force of Will here. Actually, quite a powerhouse in Vintage. We actually did some matches with her recently. She's going to stop Daze and Force of Will. And it looks like brainstorming in response to Lavinia. No, I guess that was actually end step. So Daze is actually offline. Young Pyromancer does stick. A lot of these Delver matchups, you actually see Force of Will being sideboarded out. So there's not going to be as many counter spells post-board in many of these matchups. Though sometimes they are just upgraded to things like Flusterstorm or Red Blast. Really depends on the sideboard. But in general, it's a grindy matchup, and you really don't want to get 2-for-1. A Force of Will back, protecting Lavinia. Grabbing Teferi. Now, he could Daze just to make a body, but can't imagine that's where you want to be. That Chain Lightning shutdown, Blue Elemental Blast in Lucas's hand, and a Swords to Plowshares. This could be fairly bad. Dazing just for value may actually become a necessity, as at least that would create a double block situation, though that'll actually lead to a little bit of a blowout. We've got Teferi coming down. He can bounce the Young Pyromancer and draw a card. And he actually ticks up. So Lucas, I'm surprised, not opting to go with the card. Lightning Bolt hitting Lavinia. Ponder making an additional token. Seeing a Lightning Bolt, which is tempting. The other cards, land, not ideal. And he can actually bolt and hit with the Pyromancer here to clear the Teferi. Or he could play it a little slower. He's actually going to use the Lightning Bolt. Not entirely sure it was necessary. Could have also slow played that and just attacked him over the course of a couple of turns. Pyromancer goes farming, and now Ponder is going to have to find Lucas something good to deal with these tokens. This is a 5-turn clock. And Lucas has no counterplay right now. Though something like a Stoneforge Mystic will immediately swing it back in the other direction. These matchups can be so swingy. 3 more damage coming in. True Name Nemesis. And does he fire off this Preordain? I believe there's still a land on top of the deck. It may be worth clearing that. Bolt is likely about as good as it gets here. Can finish off the player and also get rid of any type of problem creature that Lucas might manage to draw here in this very grim situation. A 2-turn clock, now that it's been upgraded by this True Name Nemesis. Snapcaster. Ponder. And Prismatic Vista coming down. It's going to be able to trade with one of these tokens. Trying to slow things down. He's going to need council's judgment or some way of gaining life, preventing the inevitability of this true name. Because he will just keep crashing in for 3 a turn unless you do something to stop him. Supreme Verdict, that is absolutely a way of stopping everything dead in its tracks. So 4 basic lands tapped for a Supreme Verdict. Not something people typically would expect from a Delver deck. Lightning bolts to the face. Ooh, Bedlam Reveler. That gets Hydroblast. Oh, and he's got the Daze. Bedlam Reveler, absolutely amazing there. Protected by Daze. Drawing Robert a full hand and representing lethal damage on board. It gets Swords. Lucas trying to hold on here. He's been playing this game a very long time. Previously played on the Pro Tour back in the day. Now largely enjoys Magic's one of Magic's best formats easily. I mean, Legacy is just truly an incredible format. So much variety. It's, I think, Magic in one of its purest forms. A pair of Meddling Mages now. Trying to blank some possible outs for Robert. Try to stop him from getting back into this game right now. 4 damage a turn, a totally reasonable clock. We're talking 5-6 turns before this actually ends up closing out in Lucas's favor. Pyroblast. A possible answer, but we're not sure what was named. Got a Brainstorm. Finding 3 Ponders, so Robert going to have all sorts of options. He will ponder away all of those. He finds a Delver. He's just going to go ahead and jam that Delver here. He's got Red Blast backup. Snapcaster gets Pyroblasted. 4 damage coming in. Is Lucas dead to the flip here? It does not flip. He does have Ponder. Oh, and he gets rid of the Daze there. Interesting. He had Delver and Daze. I actually would have kept that. Very interesting. I would have played a second Delver and kept the Daze on top, even if Lucas has a piece of spot removal. He'd be making his way through. Bunch of counter spells in hand. Doesn't flip. He fetches down to 4. He's facing lethal here. Is that an Abrade? One more time. He's swinging. I don't know if he's planning on doing this during Lucas's upkeep to shut off Force of Negation. It does put him in a situation where he absolutely loses if Lucas were able to stop that Abrade. I don't actually like doing that during the upkeep. That's tough. So, like, if you do that during attacks, it's a very different situation because he could potentially get rid of both of his attackers. Man, this is a very close game. A lot of decisions to be made here. Lots to be said for different play styles. And ultimately, Delvers get there unflipped. So we're going to be going into game number 3. Let me know how you would have played that one during that ending sequence from Robert's side of the table. Do you Abrade on your turn so you know whether or not to swing with Delver? Do you do it during their upkeep before they get that extra card, which could potentially be a counter spell? Or do you do it during the attack step, hoping that he just swings with everything? And then you can crack back for the win unopposed. He did have Flusterstorm, Spell Pierce, and Daze in hand. So very likely going to be able to resolve that Abrade in all likelihood. Though to be fair, an opposing Flusterstorm would really complicate that situation. Turn 1 Delver for Lucas. One thing I have noticed about his deck on camera is it does run a little bit less instants and sorceries than most Delver decks. He's got the Stoneforge package in there. And Robert actually clearing with Lightning Bolt right away. Wasteland taking out that volcanic island. Robert needing the red for the bolt. He's got Wasteland in hand, so he can commit the young Pyromancer. Meddling Mage coming down. And young Pyromancer squaring up against this other iconic 2-drop. Robert happy to take the 2. Continues to draw the lands he needs. It looks like he's got Wastelands and Fiery Islet. Dreadhorde Arcanist as well. This could be very difficult against this mulligan. Wasteland going after the Volcanic. And now it's likely we're going to see a Dreadhorde Arcanist added into the mix. No, he's going to hold off for now. He's got Lightning Bolt and Brainstorm both to play with. And True Name Nemesis showing up. Brainstorm in response. And not clearing the Meddling Mage during the end step is a little surprising to me. Playing around Daze quite a bit there, but he may not be in a situation where he can afford to do that. Ponder. There are some game states in Magic where you just have to play forward. If they have the Daze, they gut you because you just really can't afford to slow it down. Brainstorm in response to this Swords to Plowshares. And Swords resolving. What did I miss there? I have no idea what I missed there. Oh no, he hit the Dreadhorde Organist. I was thinking the young Pyromancer was still there, and Swords didn't resolve. Dreadhorde gets cleared. Now we've got an opposing True Name Nemesis. And this young Pyromancer still doing work. Now Lightning Bolt finally clearing the Meddling Mage. Feels like if that Lightning Bolt had resolved earlier, we'd have them token out for additional turns, yielding additional damage every turn. This ends up being very close. That may end up being a pivotal play in the match. And Lucas facing down a True Name. He may need Supreme Verdict to get him out of this. Down to 3. I think he can afford to pass the turn. He can do this during Lucas's upkeep if he wants. He'd also just ride his True Name to victory during the upkeep. Force. So the True Name will still get Lucas on the crackback. Supreme Verdict would be such a disaster right now to Fury. And he will not be enough as Robert takes this one down in a very, very decision-filled 3 games. Hopefully we'll see some more of this Blue-Red Delver as the tournament progresses. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.